Okay, I'm going to get started with this webinar. So I just wanted to say welcome and thank you for joining our webinar. Welcome to Trent University Durham GTA. We're excited to have you here today. This is our first webinar from the Durham campus, so it's a new experience for us and maybe for you as well. And first thing I want to start off with is we always do a land acknowledgement when we are doing presentations from our campus. So this is our official acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Mississaugas of Scugog Island. We offer our gratitude to our First Nations for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. It's very important for us to do our land acknowledgements. We like to really highlight the fact that we're sharing this land. Now, this land acknowledgement is actually from the Durham campus and where it's situated, but we may not all be sitting in those locations, and we're sharing the lands from different nations, and I'm sure you who are joining us as well may not necessarily be on those lands. So I think that's an important teaching to think about and remember that as we go through our lives on this land. We have several staff and student leaders with us today who are going to be presenting with me on this webinar. And so we will have time to introduce them all. They'll introduce themselves as they come up. And for sure, if you have any questions directed toward them, we will be using a Q&A panel, which I'll explain in a second. This session is being recorded, so we are going to try and post this session later on. If you have any thing that you want to write down, you can always review this video later once it gets posted to our website. And so I said there's a Q&A box. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you will find the Q&A box. You'll be able to post questions as we are presenting. We are going to hold off answering those questions until the end of the webinar. And that's just so that we have an opportunity to focus on our presentations and you have an opportunity to follow along and pay attention. And then we'll get to those questions at the end just to make it easier to answer. Some of those questions that you have may get addressed throughout the presentation anyway. So that's something to consider. Okay, and at this time, I'm going to actually pass it on over to our first guest. So our first guest name is Craig, and he's going to introduce himself. Go ahead, Craig.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Trent University Durham in this amazing new world that we live in. As Chris said, I'm Craig Cameron. I'm the academic and career advisor for the Trent University Durham campus. And I guess my main message just to start off right now is that you're not alone. You have lots of supports, and we look forward to meeting you in whatever forum that we can find a way to do so. Are we doing general introductions all around, Chris?
Craig, you can go ahead and get started with your presentation, and we'll do introductions for each person as they go.
Okay, no problem. I was following the script. So I've been fortunate to be at the Trent Durham campus now for 20 years, which makes me feel very old at this particular moment in time. But I'm very privileged in that I get to work with students to build working relationships, to help them build meaning out of their educational journey, and to help them on their academic journey, where they want to go with that, and figuring out, how to connect that journey to potential career or vocational outcomes. When we normally do orientations like that, like this, and we're in a group in a big hall, it's even in that forum, it's a little bit hard to have humor come across because everyone's sort of on edge and nervous, and so you can imagine trying to use humor in a Zoom room is even harder. But I am going to try. So I can tell you that today it is possible to cut your ear while shaving. So why I'm saying that is that you can't see it right now, but I was trying to actually get a piece off of here, and my son came in the room, and I turned my head, and as I came down, I've had a little piece of Kleenex on my ear all morning, but thank God it's now gone for this orientation. Perhaps I've been in lockdown too long, so hopefully there's some giggles out there in the Zoom world with that attempt at some humor to lighten the load. Before I continue, I just wanted to make note of somebody who's very also important on our campus that works with Jamie, who you'll meet in a moment, and myself. Her name is Kristen Papadakos, and she's an experiential learning coordinator for the Durham campus. There's many of us, our students now are keenly interested in getting experiential learning opportunities, whether it be in the child and youth program or the business program. And she's a vital contact. But what I will tell you that she wanted to impart today quickly is to get access to any of these upper level experiential learning opportunities, we need you to hit the ground running academically in your first year. So our focus is to try to give you the resources and the support so that you put yourself academically in a position to have access to those opportunities. As exciting as they are, we need to start with sort of the bare bones of getting you off onto a good start academically. So here's what I want to discuss briefly before I pass on. One is accessing resources. So you're going to hear a few things bandied about today, including things like accessibility services, counseling, career counseling, academic skills. All the people that you see on the screen now, these folks are going to be a wonderful wealth of information for you and others to how do you get access to these supports in this new world. A couple of other things I just wanted to review were I'm going to take you to a couple of websites in a moment, but right now, really what I want to impart is that you attend and participate in classes and that you think of your faculty as your first line of defense as you move forward in your classes in terms of information about your courses, okay? Your faculty and your teachers, your professors are your first line of defense when you have issues within your classes, okay? There is something that's going to come out with each of your courses, which is called a course syllabus. And this is basically your course outline. Many of you will be familiar with that. And it is your contract, outlines the expectations, the learning outcomes, and everything to do with that is clearly expressed in that document. So right now I'm going to share a quick screen because I'd like to show you a couple of things around how our courses are going to be delivered this year. So give me a moment while I figure that out. Just 1 second. I have too many browsers open at this point is my issue. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share the academic timetable screen because I'd like to just review a little bit about how the courses are going to be delivered. There'll be more detail on this later on, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. So I've gone to TrentU.ca/timetable, and I'm going to actually go down to a section called Planning Your Courses. And in here, you've seen that we have a multi-access formula for moving forward to try to meet students where they are and get access as widespread as possible. So down here, you're going to see 4 different types of experiences you can expect at Trent this year. The one that I really want to focus in on for right now, and I'm going to work a little bit out of sync, is anytime remote with optional real-time classes. So why I'm starting with this one is that we really want you to think about whatever you're doing for moving forward with scheduling. We all know that courses will be offered remotely in the fall term, and I want students to realize that there will be schedules attached to the courses, even though they're online. So a course may be at 12 o'clock on a Friday, and we really want you to be thinking like you will be ready and able to access online, electronically, that course at that particular time. Now, of course, there will be exceptions, and we don't want students to worry that if I have a power outage or I have some other technical difficulty, that you will somehow be held responsible for that. The point here is that when it says anytime remote courses with optional real-time classes online, you'll see that courses are listed as remote. We want you to think about coming at the time that they're scheduled so that you can manage your time and treat this as though you're actually getting set to pack up to go to school at that particular time. So it's just a overriding sort of message that I want to send to you. Number 4 here is about real-time online courses. These are courses that are traditional online courses that Trent has always offered. They don't actually have a scheduled time, and it is up to you to sort of find a time each week that you will attend to come into those classes. But the majority of your classes in first year will actually be scheduled at a particular time, and we want you to try to stick to that as you move forward, okay? Now, working backwards, I don't really want you to worry about anytime remote courses. We have determined that there aren't any in first year that you would be having to deal with. So there's no real need for us to do that, to talk about that too much. The on-campus courses, as you know, we're not doing that. There are a couple of professional programs, in nursing and some educational one to do with the Bachelor of Education where there is some on-campus requirement. None of that stuff is going to apply to you, okay? So I really wanted to get that across around accessing resources, realizing that there is some flexibility here and to treat your schedule like you would. You just physically don't have to go to the campus, right? Because there won't be anybody there. So the couple other things that I wanted to talk about quickly were an academic calendar. And I think this will be talked about very briefly later on, but I'm going to show you what this is very quickly. So just hold on. I'm going to share this screen. And so sort of a information site for all these sort of rules and regulations, important dates are all contained within the academic calendar. And that's your undergraduate students. Maybe for some of you will be going on to graduate studies later on, masters and such, but for right now it's an undergraduate calendar. And you're going to be using the current May edition 2021-2020 calendar. So when we get into this calendar, have a chance. It's a very cumbersome, large document, but you can go and check out, you know, if I'm a child and youth major, or if I'm looking at computer science, and check out some of the information about your department or your joint major. Important dates is a key one that I want to put out there. This will give you a lot of the key dates for the upcoming session. These all still apply, okay? So there's no changing in terms of, because we're online or remote, that these dates will change. Now, Jamie, who you're going to meet in a moment, and I usually do a skit in person where she plays a student, and she comes and says, you know, I wanted to drop this course, and you know, I didn't know that I could drop it, and we call it the, you know, refrain from the nobody told me syndrome. In other words, the information is there and available to remind you what the dates are, as you can see from here, and you're going to meet lots of people that can support you in reminding you of these dates. So some of the questions that have come up earlier about, you know, when can I change or add a class, we would like you to really have your schedule pretty much nailed down before you start in September. If there are some changes you need to make in the first week or two, please consult with an advisor to see if that's a good idea, because you will have missed some classes if you're moving things around. And we need to make sure that you're aware that there are academic drop deadlines if you're going to drop a course and not receive a grade for it. These are different from financial deadlines. So I would encourage you to review the academic calendar, because there are differences between different drop dates. And that is actually going to be your responsibility. And so if I were to, I'm going to show you another piece in here, which is, it's just to give you a heads up about, and it's this part right here. And it's a very small paragraph, but it's very integral. And it says, you'll see the responsibility of all students to familiarize themselves with the specific requirements for the degree or diploma they seek. While advice and counseling are readily available, it is the student's responsibility to ensure that the courses in which they register fulfill their degree and program requirements. So that means that responsibility for you to check in with people and make sure, and that's what we're here for, to help guide you through that process, okay? So I'm going to stop my share. Hold on a second. Trouble stopping my share, Chris. There we go. Okay, so now I'm back. So just as some final remarks before I pass it on, there are, if you go to TrentU.ca/IT, there's lots of questions about what sort of technology I should have to be prepared, what sort of software should I have, computers, TrentU.ca/IT. And I know I'm going a little longer, but I'm going to need to share this one as well, Chris, because I think it's important. So if you go to that website, because the last thing you want is to be hitting some technological glitches before you start. Now, if we go to this page, and right in here, you're going to see two links. One is support resources, This is a very important website which will provide you with a whole full, there's even online workshops, there's information sessions about going remote, you know, one for students as well. And we've also started to use what's called a tech rover and its fellow students. It will help you navigate through some of the technology that you'll need. So again, I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with that website and have your questions ahead, connect with people. We're going to meet you guys again at some point for when you come for your course major specific sessions. Keep in touch with us. You know, we're here. I'm going to leave you with one last thing before we go, which is, I mentioned earlier that we are academic and career advisors on the Durham campus. So this is right out of the career section in the Globe and Mail from the weekend. And I'm mentioning this to you because a lot of the skills that we're going to talk to you about today, about how to access resources, how to, you know, do research and find out things, this is actually a highly sought after skill set that employers are looking for. So this is according to a 2018, so a pretty recent survey of business leaders by the Business Council of Canada. Industry-specific knowledge and experience were not among the top 5 most important attributes of an entry-level or mid-level hire. Instead, employers listed collaboration, communication, problem-solving, analytical capabilities, and resiliency as their top priorities. Furthermore, industry-specific knowledge and experience only ranked 4th among the attributes employers were most interested in mid-level or higher level entry hires. So what that's telling you right now is a lot of the skills that we're going to impart onto you today and that we're asking you to consider are things that you will take forward that will not only help you with your university degree success, it'll also help you with your success in extracurricular and student life opportunities. And also, most importantly, when you move forward into your career or vocation desires, these are going to play well for you. Okay, so thanks for listening to me, guys, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, thanks, Greg, for sharing with us. A couple things that I wanted to mention. One, I don't even think I introduced myself, so I'm going to do that right now. My name is Chris, and I am the coordinator of student life at our campus and the Durham region. One of my roles is the orientation programming, as well as some other programming that you'll get to hear about if you come to the student life session regarding things like leadership and stuff. So I highly encourage you to do that. I wanted to acknowledge, before we move on, I wanted to just acknowledge you, the students who are you know, trying to manage this new challenge of coming to your undergraduate degree. You know, it's a lot of resilience and a lot of persistence, and I really commend you on being able to tackle that. And we're here to try and help you through that as best we can as well. So please take us up on our support and services when you can. I also wanted to acknowledge that we do have a lot of international students that come to our campus, whether they're already living in the country or they may be studying remotely. And I think that that's imperative to really recognize you for really stretching your limits to come to, you know, a new country and to study in Canada. And we really appreciate all the efforts that you guys put into that. The last thing I was going to mention is that we also will have transfer students joining us on this call, which is really important for us to help students continue their studies from wherever they're coming to where they are going to be here at Trent, which is really great. A lot of this information does pertain to both of you, in both new students and transfer students. So in terms of using the visual schedule builder and how that goes, transfer students, you're going to get a little bit more information from Jamie at the end regarding priority registration and things like that. So stay tuned for that. And the last thing I will mention is that I'm sure that we might have some parents and supporters that are watching as well, and we really like the fact that you are here to encourage your students to be successful, and we hope to share some things that you'll be able to, you know, encourage with them. So that's great. I'm going to pass this on over to Aiden. Aiden is our orientation and leadership assistant, and he's going to introduce himself and then go through his next section.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. My name is Aiden Davidson. I am the Orientation and Leadership Programming Assistant. I work with Chris primarily to facilitate leadership workshops throughout the year, and I help plan orientation with Chris and with Carrie as well. It's certainly a very interesting time that we're coming in when it comes to student life, you know, planning orientation, everything like that. But again, I I want to acknowledge as well that the resiliency that all of you are demonstrating has been fantastic, and I'm really, really proud of you guys, even though I don't know you yet, but I'm still very proud of you. And it's a good sign for, you know, what's to come, because we don't really know what's to come, right? But whatever comes our way, I think we're good. So I'm just going to start then with talking a little bit about course registration, you know, the thing that's kind of on everyone's mind right now. And I'm going to share my screen because we have actually created a website which has pretty much everything you need when it comes to course registration. So if you go over to your handy dandy browser and you go to TrentU.ca/Durham/orientation. And then you click on the first link over here, New Student Orientation. This is the easiest way to get there that I found so far. And then right down here where it says Course Selection and Registration, you click on Academic Advising Course Registration Support. And you'll be presented with a web page that includes everything that you need for registering for courses, everything from, you know, knowing what you need to take for your program, and the academic calendar that Craig mentioned earlier, and description on first year courses, and general course selection advice. Everything is here. So this entire page has been broken down into a step-by-step process. It's 4 steps actually. So we have our step 1, which includes all our documents, which I'll go over in a second. We have step-by-step videos that actually guide you through the process on using the academic calendar, on building your actual schedule, which we'll get into later with, I believe Carrie will be doing that. And then we also have a video on how to actually register for the courses once you've gotten that. Obviously you guys can't do that quite yet, but it's super important for you guys to actually go through this stuff prior to course registration opening and you registering for everything. And then this is another super important thing, which is actually navigating MyTrent. MyTrent is going to be the portal that you are all going to be using for everything student related. So all of your services, like student services, all of your academics, your email can even be accessed through here, everything like that. Even IT services, which Craig mentioned earlier, you can also access their website through the MyTrent portal as well. If you guys were using Blackboard or Moodle in high school, this is kind of like that as well, or Google Classroom. It's the same kind of idea. So going back up to the top, we also have some important dates, which you know, you should all take note of. You already know about the fall course timetables being posted and the visual schedule builder being available. But going forward, we have priority registration and actual course registration on the 15th and the 27th. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding, you know, when do we have to do this by? A lot of those questions are going to be answered in this, but if we miss anything, feel free to ask near the end of the session. So the first document that we're going to look at then is the actual course requirements by major subject. So let's see. So this is first year course requirements by major program. Now I know that we have some transfer students and international students, but for the transfer students, you may be doing some second year courses as well, or maybe not even doing any first year courses whatsoever. But it's still important to just double check with all the documents just to see, you know, kind of what's going on. But for those of you who are just straight up first year students, and this is your first time in university, this is like the keystone. You really need to read through this because this will give you an idea of what you need. It will give you an idea of, you know, what to do if you have not declared a major, as you can see in these big bold letters. It gives you the different streams. So you have arts and general honors, science general honors. If you're in the teacher's education stream, Trent Swansea dual degree, certificate program, everything like that. So we have information on all of this. More information can be found in the academic calendar. As Craig had mentioned, the academic calendar is essentially our holy grail, which has everything in it. But as Craig also mentioned, it is a very cumbersome document. It's very, very large. So if you're needing just kind of an entry into that, this is a good starting point, but still double check with the academic calendar because that is like the be all end all pretty much. Another thing that I wanted to touch on with this here is if you scroll down and you're looking at your major, we've actually created it in such a way where you can actually just click on your major. So for example, if you were a gender and women's studies major, you can click on that and it will tell you exactly what you need for your first year. So in this instance here, you would need WMST, which is women's studies. We're not really going to get into acronyms right now, but that's something later on that you'll kind of get used to. So women's studies 1001 and women's studies 1002. And then here it says the rest of your course selection is flexible and consists of elective credits. This is going to be the case for a lot of things in first year, but that will be discussed in more detail as we go on. And yeah, so we have pretty much all of the programs that we have available on Durham campus as actual majors available here. For courses which we don't have all of the program requirements at, we won't have listed here. For things like biology, we do have biology courses here, but we don't have majors available for that. You can't really major at Trent Durham in biology. You have to take some online or some over in Peterborough. Now, we have some other documents over here too. So if we go back to, oh, whoops, no, let's go back to this page. There we go. So we also have general course selection advice. And this is something that every new student, regardless of what kind of student you are, transfer, mature, international, straight out of high school, no matter what, you want to check out this document. So this has everything about general course selection advice. We even have a little thing right here for transfer students, essentially just saying what I just said, saying that, you know, you need to review all the documents on the web page. And when I say this web page, we're talking about this one over here. And then obviously, another important thing that we would like to do with transfer students is to have them meet with an academic advisor, because their situation is sometimes a little bit more complex than just, you know, coming straight from high school, with different credits being held. So some of the course requirements and stuff like that will be covered a little bit later in it, but I highly recommend you go through this document as well. And then if we go over here, we have first year course description. So like we had in the course requirements by major subject, all of those majors, we actually have all of the first year courses are in a document over here. And we have a list of the programs again. So if you're interested in, oh, I don't want to chat right now. If you're interested in anthropology, you could click on anthropology and it would give you all of the anthropology courses that are available right now. So here you can see there's like Peterborough Remote, which we'll talk about later. There's you know, applied anthropology, technology and humanity. There's lots of different courses, and it will give you a little detailed description of what that course is about, as well as the course code that you can use when you're registering for the courses. And then the final thing that there was the academic calendar, which I'm not really going to go into because Craig already went through that. But yeah, essentially this is the main thing that you want to really look at. So when you're going through course registration beforehand and while you're doing it, make sure to follow these videos, because a lot of the questions that may or may not come up, the answers will be found in this page pretty much. All right, I think that's everything on my end. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. Perfect, okay. And I'm gonna pass it on back to Chris now.
Thanks, Aiden. Thanks for that presentation. That's great. A lot of that information, like Aiden said, it's found on the website. We've done our best to try and make that website in a way that is easy to follow, and you'll be able to go back to those resources at any time and go through them. The next person I'm going to introduce is Anna. Anna is going to talk a little bit about electives and how that really works at our campus. So go ahead, Anna.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Stroywens and I'm the Academic Mentoring Program Coordinator here at the Durham campus. I'm also a third year English major in the teacher education stream. So as Aiden already mentioned, once you have fulfilled all the courses for your program, you may have some elective courses. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so electives are courses that are not required for your program or degree. And we encourage students to choose elective courses based on your interests. So something that you would enjoy to take, and something that you may want to explore further in your studies. So keeping your options open, something that you may decide to do as a specialization or as a minor, for instance, later on. So if you go to this web page, there is a list of first year course descriptions. You can browse by program, or sorry, by department. So for instance, if we click anthropology, there are multiple first year anthropology courses that come up, and the descriptions are listed as well. Something I will point out as well, if you scroll down to the bottom of this list, there is a general university courses link, and it'll bring you to this write in time. So this is recommended for first year students if you're able to take it. So if we read here, it's a writing intensive course that aims to provide practical and cumulative skills in writing clearly, correctly, and persuasively across disciplines and situations. So this is a course that would be great regardless of what you're studying. It teaches you really valuable skills in writing in this academic setting. And another thing I will touch on is the Indigenous course requirement. So all incoming students are required to take at least 0.5 credits in Indigenous studies. And there is an approved list of Indigenous courses that you can browse. So here's the list here. In order to meet the requirements of this, of their degree requirement, you can choose a course from this list here. So this is suggested to be taken in first year. It can be taken at any time, but yes, we recommend that students take it in first year if they are able. For more information about this, you can refer to the academic timetable and the academic calendar, and the same with electives. Again, I forgot to mention too, that you are entering or continuing your university journey at a very unique and interesting time. But we're thrilled that you've chosen Trent Durham, and we're excited to welcome you to our community. So I think that's all on my end. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Anna, for sharing that. Just in terms of just reminding people what this webinar is about, in case people didn't hear at the beginning. So this is about preparing for course registration, just getting all your ducks in a row for when course registration actually opens. For new students, brand new students, that's going to be July 27th. Jamie's going to share a little bit more about the really important dates and what you need to know to prepare for that. But I'm going to pass this on over to Carrie, who's going to actually walk you through how our visual schedule builder actually works. So Carrie, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, so I am Karen Finn, or Carrie, whatever you prefer. I am going into 4th year. I'm a history major and in the teacher education stream, and I'm also on the TDSA, which is the Trent Durham Student Association, as the Director of Student Engagement. So, first we're going to talk about the visual schedule builder. I should start sharing my screen before I do that. Okay, so we are going to go right over here. Lovely, lovely. So first we start off on the MyTrent little landing page right here. We're going to go to register, and we're going to go to schedule builder. My screen sharing is paused. Okay, lovely. No, it's not. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So we are going to click continue, and this is where our schedule builder itself comes up as soon as my raggedy Wi-Fi starts to work for me. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so here we are on the home page. First we have to select what term we're looking for. So do we want courses for just fall, just winter, or for both? So I want both. I want to set up all 10 of my courses, assuming I'm a full-time student, all at the same time. Next, I'm going to my campus. So there's a lot of options here. Let's just say I want to have, so let me just explain these options a little bit here. So Peterborough and Oshawa, at least for the fall term, those are remote learning, which means you might have content that's happening at that is live, and you might need to tune in at a particular time, or there's online courses where the entire course is offered virtually. So we'll go into those a little bit later and how you can recognize the difference. So I'm going to walk you through how I built my schedule in first year. So as we touched on a little bit earlier, we do have our academic calendar over here. So I can just double check what my requirements are. So at the first year level, I need 1 full credit of history. So going to go to my schedule builder. Also, you can see right there that the course code for history is HIST. So I'm going to go to my visual course builder, type in HIST, and here pops up all of my options for the first year courses, right? So the 1 at the beginning of your course code, that means it's a first year level course. The H over here means it's either a half credit, which means that you'll take it in 2 sections to receive a full credit, or sometimes there's a Y if the course lasts all year. So this is a 1 semester course. So I'm going to pick the one that I took, which is this one right here. This is Western Civilizations in the Middle Ages. You have this little option here where you can check out a little bit of the course description. If you don't want to search it up like individually, if you want to check out the course description first, what I do, I type in my program, and so I'm in Trent History. You can go to your program. I'm an undergrad, so you go into undergraduate. Then you have your undergraduate course listing over here. And this lists all of the options over here if you want to pick based on what the description of the course. And you kind of want to sneak peek at what the course will be talking about. Right. So anyway, so I've picked my one here. You see here, there's this generated results section. So say you want to move around when your course is. Say Thursday at 3 o'clock doesn't really fit for you. So you have the option here. You can click this arrow, and it'll change around when your course is just a little bit. So you could change your seminar time. So there's a little break in between. Over here, we see that this course is offered in Oshawa. So it's offered here at our Durham campus. And Web Blackboard means that it is a distance learning course. So you are getting your content that way. So say that's what you like. I've settled on this is where I want my course to be, right? So you can click on that, and that gives you a little pin option. That means that that course is staying right where it is, and it's not going to be shuffled around as you move around your timetable. So I am also in the teacher education stream. So I'm going to type in my mandatory education course. I'll plop that guy in. So over here, this is offered in both Peterborough and Oshawa. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to find an option that works for me. So here's the Oshawa section. Again, you can see here, it's at the 1000 level. It's first year. It's in Oshawa. It's Web Blackboard, so it's remote learning. So I have this option, or this one. Now I can tell that this course is offered in Peterborough on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So I want to stick to my Durham course, even though it's in the morning. Don't love that. I'm not a morning person myself, but we're going to pin that in. That's where I want it because I want to stay in Oshawa. So we now have 2 courses, but we're trying to fill it up for 5. Let's say I want to do some electives as well, something that's not necessarily in my program. Let's say RIT, that was one that was recommended, Write in Time, and that is a course to build up your writing skills. So let's look at what we got here. So that one is offered actually in the winter semester, right? So there's a couple ways you could get that one. So this one here, there's multiple sections as well. So they're offered at the same time. Yep, same time, but there's multiple sections. So just pick the one that you want over here. So I can get it this way. So it is online for the first semester. You'll notice that online courses don't actually show up in your schedule builder because there's no allotted time for you to log into them. So, but you can tell that it is in your schedule because it's down here on the bottom, and you can see it runs from September to December, right? That is another version of the online, and here, but let's say keep this guy. So we'll plug that in. That's good. So we have 1 course in the winter semester. Lovely. I have it in twice. There we go. That's my problem. Okay. Let's say I need another history course. Let's throw this guy in. Let's say 10 days that shook the world. That sounds exciting. I'm gonna throw that in. Oh, look. So this means that we have a course conflict. That means that this course is being offered at the same, or this conflicts with another course because they're happening at the same time. So I'm going to have to get rid of that one. Can't take that one because that will mess up my schedule. But we have plenty of other options. So let's look for another history. Let's say I want to do love, sex, and intimacy in history. Let's try that guy. That one's in the second semester. Love that. Pin that in. We're going to look for the second half of my education course. Same thing. We have some other times that it's offered. You see how I have all of these options. There's 12 different variations of when this course is offered between the various campuses. So I am just going to pin that in. There we go. So we have 2 courses in each. Oh, sorry, 3 and 1. We're going to look for, let's say I want to do sign language as well. So there we go. I've searched in the course code for ASLA. You can scroll over here. This one is in Peterborough and web-based. Or I can look for an Oshawa variant. Here it is, Oshawa. Sorry, remote learning, not web-based. Pin that in there. Let's see. Do another history. That bad boy is offered online. So we have all of the courses that we need for our first semester here. We have filled up for a full course load. So now I just want stuff in the winter term. Oh, never mind, not that. Whoopsie daisies, lost my schedule. That is fun. Don't do that. So I'm not gonna put the whole schedule back together, but I'm just gonna show you a little bit of what we had here and how we can save our results, because just having it in the Visual Course Builder does not mean that you are registered and enrolled in these courses. You're sort of just blocking out what you might like. So, lovely. We are almost there. So there is this share option right here, and this will be a link to your Visual Course Builder, and it will keep these options as you have them in your builder. So what you can do, if I just drag and drop this over here in another tab, copy and paste it in, when it loads, it should have all of the options that I've already put in my Visual Course Builder, and it should pop up exactly the same as it was. Waiting for it to pop up, waiting for it, waiting for it. And there we are. We see that this tab is the same as the other one that I had open, right? You just go through and you build, and you are trying to get, assuming you want a full course load, you're going for 5 courses in each little semester box. You could also email it to yourself. That's the surest way to make sure that you don't lose your link. But yeah, that concludes what I have for right now. So yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie, for demonstrating the VSB. Now, just a reminder that the VSB videos are also available on the website that Aiden had introduced at the beginning. So you'll be able to review that same stuff that Carrie went through in that fashion. There's a multitude of resources available to find courses in varying degrees. Carrie showed one, which was going to program websites. You can also go to the timetable, which Craig shared at the beginning, which actually showcases a bunch of other options in different formats. So you might find a format that works best for you, and that's how you could investigate those courses, which is great. I'm going to pass this over to Jamie. Jamie is our last guest speaker, who's going to talk a little bit more about the next steps. Go ahead, Jamie.
Hey, hi. So my name is Jamie Mayton. I am the other academic and career advisor at the Durham campus. And much like everyone else, I want to thank you all for joining us today. You are being very proactive already in your studies. And as Craig was mentioning, these are helpful skills that are important in your career journey as well. So thank you for joining us on what is a hot summer day where maybe you want to be outside enjoying the weather, but you're here with us instead, and I hope that you're finding this to be helpful. So I'm going to go over a few things with you guys, and then I believe after that we're going to get to some of the Q&As that we may not have covered yet. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay. So the first thing I want to bring your attention here to is the program-specific sessions. So as we were mentioning, today is just for general registration information, but there are going to be program-specific sessions. So on July 14th at 10:30 a.m., if you are intending to major in child and youth, you can click here to register for that program. On July 14th at 2:30 p.m., we have the social work registration support. July 16th at 10:30 a.m., we have business admin support. July 16th at 2:30 p.m., if you are in the teacher education stream, you should come to that session. July 21st at 10:30 a.m., we have psychology, sociology, and anthropology, or as we call them, the ologies. And then the last one is July 21st at 2:30 p.m. That's for all other programs. So either if you weren't able to attend your program or you were in a program that wasn't listed there, you can pop in for that one. Some other information I want to mention are the registration dates. So for new students who, whether you're coming out of high school or you're a mature student who took some time off, if you are coming in with no transfer credits, registration for you will open up on July 27th at 8 a.m. However, as we mentioned, there are some transfer students here with us. So what you will notice when you click on the academic timetable, that there's a link here for the priority registration schedule. And that will bring you here and it will tell you based on how many credits you have when registration will open for you. So if you are coming in with 0 or 0.5 credits, again, July 27th is the date registration will open for you. If you have 1 or more credits completed, it would be July 24th, 4 or more credits completed, July 23rd, etc. So just make sure you're aware of how many transfer credits you have, and this will be the date registration opens for you. You do not have to register on that exact date. That's just when it becomes available to you. But we do encourage you to register when you're able to. As more students start to register, certain courses like electives that you'd like might start to fill up. So just going back to the visual schedule builder, one of the things we want to do is just encourage you to play around with it even before the program-specific registration support webinars. The reason is that, as you can see, there's a lot going on here. There's different terms, different campuses. So we do encourage you to play around with it and just make yourself as comfortable as you can. It's okay if you feel that you're making mistakes. It's an opportunity to learn. But if you do this prior to your registration date or the registration support sessions, you might have an easier time following along with us. So a couple other things I just want to bring your attention to. So Carrie was talking about the different campuses. So you can see there's Oshawa, there's Webb, there's Peterborough. So these are very important to pay attention to, especially with the uniqueness of this year. So again, you guys are coming in at a very different and exciting time, but there's all sorts of new information available. So one of the things I just want to clarify is remote learning in the fall versus what the winter might look like. So in the fall term, all courses are being offered either remotely or as an online course. So this means in theory, you could choose your courses at either campus, although we are encouraging Durham students to register in Durham remote courses because we're trying to get you prepared for your entire academic journey. So focusing on the campus that you intend to be studying at. That said, there might be the odd course that is not available at the Durham campus that you might need to take. So for the fall term, if you were to take it as a Peterborough remote course, that would be okay because it is a remote course, so you would not be expected to travel to Peterborough, or you may find it as an online course. For the winter term, however, at this time, while we can't say for certain what's happening, we would like you to plan your schedule as though we will be running in person. So any courses you register in, you need to be prepared to attend class on that day, at that time, at that campus. So if you go and add a Peterborough course to your winter timetable, you would need to travel to Peterborough for that course, which is different than for the fall term where it is being offered remotely. So that's just something to keep in mind. Another thing I want to mention is that Carrie was showing you guys some of the different sections available. That does exist for some courses, but it does not exist for every course. So there are certain courses that might only be offered, you know, in one time slot on one date. And if that's a required course for you, you may need to build your electives around those set courses, whereas other ones do have a little bit more flexibility. You might notice a little bit more flexibility in some of the Peterborough-based courses simply due to it being a larger campus. But the Durham timetable is typically built in a way where your program requirements will not conflict with each other, so you shouldn't need to worry about that. The last thing I'm going to mention before I pass it off to Chris is support during registration. So we've given you all these tools and resources. We're encouraging you to read through it and play around with it. But what happens on registration date if you're just not sure about something and you're looking for some extra support? We do have a registration support hotline available. So that's a phone number you can call to answer additional questions. And that phone number is 905-435-5102, extension 5052. We also have our general info desk that you can call at any time, either during business hours or leave a voicemail, and that's our 905-435-5100 phone number. With our front desk, we also just have a general Durham@TrentU.ca email that you can email at any time, but specific to registration, Aiden will be answering registration support questions from his email address. So that is adavidson@TrentU.ca. So I think that's it for me. So I'm going to stop my screen share and pass it back to Chris.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Thanks for sharing all that. That's great information. I'm just going to pass it right back over to Craig to just wrap up some key points, and then we'll get into our question and answer period.
Okay, just a couple of quick things. One, thanks team, that was wonderful. And I too echo all their sentiments around your resiliency, our audience for coming out here today and taking a first stab at figuring some stuff out. And I know a lot of it will be overwhelming, but we've got lots of time. So on that note, and some of this has been embedded in what people have said, is that what we're hoping is that by the time you get to coming to your individual major session that Jamie referred to, that you will actually have taken a pretty good stab at creating your schedule, and in fact have your best attempt at trying to build a conflict-free schedule. That would sort of be a challenge for you. If not, you can still come to that session, and we will we'll help out with that. So we're hoping that you feel comfortable doing that, and that you know some of the key dates and where to find them moving forward. That you know about some of the key supports for registration. I think we reviewed that. And again, just a reminder about the tech support. I'm going to do a quick share screen because this part in terms of, oh, only host. Looks like Chris shut down my, oh, no, it's back. Thanks, Chris. This is just going back quickly to the schedule builder. And this may have come up or not because I might have been answering questions live, but I just want to remind you that there's a link in here when you're building a schedule that says share. So I've just gone in and put one course in just to show. But if you click on the share and you copy this link, you can email that to yourself. And you know, honestly, you can make 3, 4, 5, 6 different schedules of your liking. And that's not actually a bad thing to get practice with developing a bunch of different schedules. So if you hit a hiccup or you see one that's better, and you can reopen those saved schedule builders once you're done. So just a note on that. And again, a big thank you and congratulations on joining us here at Trent. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, great. Thanks, Craig. All right, so at this point, I'm going to actually go into the question and answer period. We have had several questions come up, and I will pass them off to certain panelists if I think that they will be able to answer better than myself, for sure. So our first question is actually, if I make a mistake in choosing my courses, can I change them or am I stuck? And I'm going to actually pass that right back to Craig to just answer that quickly. Hi, Craig.
Mute myself, yes. So again, we mentioned this a little bit earlier on. There's two different things. So while we're mentioning schedule builders is that you can have a couple of different schedules going on. Try to have one sorted out at least if not before we do your discipline-specific sessions, but after that. So before we start in September, that you know what your schedule is. Honestly, sometimes it does happen where a student starts in a course and they say, oh my word, this instructor is speaking in a foreign language to me that I can't understand. And they throw their hands up in there and they say, why am I in this class? And that may have happened to the odd student in this room here as well. So in that case, what we just want to say is, yes, you can change them, but you have to keep in mind that if you're 2 weeks into a class and then you decide you want to switch into another class, you've just missed 2 weeks of the other class. And there's only 12 classes in a term, just so you know. So you just have to be mindful of, you know, being prepared that that's a pretty big adjustment. So I would say at best a week into a class, you should know, trust your gut. When you go into the first session and you're like, whoa, this doesn't resonate with me, don't linger. If you know, trust yourself, a week would be reasonable. Once we start going past that, yes, you can still change it, but it gets a little trickier, okay?
Great, thanks, Craig, for that. Okay, next question we have is, how do I know what textbooks I need and where can I get them? I'm going to pass that over to Aiden. I think Aiden can answer that one.
Sure, awesome. So in terms of knowing what textbooks you need, when you receive your course syllabus, it will actually outline required text section, and it will show you exactly what texts you need for that for that course. And then for some courses as well, they'll have things called recommended texts, which aren't technically required, but they are essentially just supplementary texts that you can add into your curriculum to kind of you know, help you with certain aspects of the course. For example, in one of the courses that I had, having the MLA handbook was a recommended piece of text. It wasn't required, but it was recommended. So all of that can be found in the course syllabus. But then when you're wanting to actually get your textbooks, there are two main ways, or actually three, I guess. So if we were doing it in person, which hopefully, fingers crossed, in the winter semester, we're doing it in person. If that happens, then we actually have a pop-up bookstore. The Peterborough campus has a bookstore all year round, but we have a pop-up bookstore at the beginning of each semester. And what you do essentially is you bring your course syllabus over there, and they will, or even your list of courses that you have, and they will get all the books for you, and they'll gather it for you, and then you can pay for it there. Alternatively, you can go onto the online bookstore, which I believe is like you can find in the My Trent portal. I believe you can find the bookstore, and there you can actually enter in the course codes, and they will show you exactly what books you need, and you can order it online. That's probably your best option right now. And then the other way, I'm not sure if they're doing anything for it online, but during the year when you're actually in person, another option is the student government office. They sell some textbooks, not all of them, but some of them, at reduced prices sometimes because they're usually used books. And that's just our used bookstore to get some secondhand books, save you a little bit of money. But again, as I said, they don't always have all of the books that you need, depending on the discipline. And they may not always have the exact edition that you're needing as well. Hopefully that helped.
Okay, thanks, Aiden. I was going to just mention one more thing. So the syllabi is actually the best place to find textbook lists, but you can also visit the bookstore website, and they will list textbooks as well. I'm just going to do a quick share screen just so you guys can see what that basically looks like. So here we go. So over here, if you just type in Trent Bookstore, and you go to the first link, when you go in here, you can see textbooks at the top. There's other things. You can shop by student ID, shop by courses. There's various things. Now I'm going to warn you in advance that these textbooks won't be listed right now. The professors don't release their textbooks list to the bookstore until much later into the summer. So you will have to check back regularly. But let's say I put in a course like one of the history courses like Carrie talked about, and I would hit find materials. In this place, it would show you. Now, obviously, like I said right now, you won't find that stuff, but this is a place where you can also find your textbook lists. Okay. So I am going to look at the questions now. So what are we doing now? So just in terms of some people who were a little bit late didn't see the website that happened. So just the website that's available to students, if you go to trentu.ca/Durham/orientation, one of the first links you'll see in there is course registration support. And that link is where we've shown all of these other links. So just in terms of looking for that, that's where you're going to be going. Okay. Jamie's going to answer some questions regarding the fall and winter term registration, as Carrie did show that we were registering in some winter courses. So I'm going to pass that over to Jamie.
Sure. So we do encourage students to register for both the fall and winter term at the same time. What you'll notice with a lot of your programs is there might be some intro courses where there's a part 1 and a part 2, for example, sociology, where you would take sociology part 1 in the fall, part 2 in the winter. So it's important to kind of look at your timetable for the full year to make sure that you're getting all of the intro courses you need and that you have the prerequisites. For instance, that you wouldn't be able to take part 2 without part 1 for certain courses. Keep in mind, you are able to make changes to your timetable. So for example, if you register in all your courses now and in the fall term you realize, you know what, I don't actually love sociology, I don't want to take part 2 in the winter, you will be able to make changes to your winter timetable prior to the start of the winter term. But it's still beneficial to register for all your fall and winter term courses now to make sure that courses don't fill up and that your schedule is meeting your program's requirements. Another question I just want to address, I'm seeing a couple things coming up about course load. There is some information about course load on the orientation page that Aiden was going through under the general course selection advice page. But I will briefly mention a 100% course load would be 5 credits in the year, so 2.5 credits per term, which is the equivalent of 5 half-credit courses per term. If you're registered with accessibility services, that might be a little bit different. So that would be something you would connect with your accessibility advisor about. If you're looking to receive full-time OSAP, you need to be in a minimum of 3 courses per term. So if you take 3, 4, or 5, OSAP would consider you to be full-time. The university considers you to be full-time if you're taking 3.5 credits in the academic year. So that would be 4 courses in one term, 3 in the other. But most students do aim to try to take 5 in the fall, 5 in the winter as their standard load. But if you have any additional questions about that and what works for you best, you might want to connect directly with myself or Craig in academic advising.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for answering those questions. Craig, I know that you said you had some questions that you were going to answer, so I'll let you go ahead and get started with that.
Okay, I'm not sure if you mentioned scholarships as well there, Jamie, but there are students who will be in receipt of scholarships. And there are, if you go to TrentU.ca/scholarships or Google or search it on your My Trent, you will see some of the regulations around that. Typically, a student is expected to take 5 courses per term, but there are ways to take 4 in each term. You would have to take a course in the next summer to make up to qualify for continuance of your entrance scholarship. So just a heads up to look up for those who are doing that. There has been a couple of questions again about whether courses will be online for fall, or is it possible that they will be in person? And just to put that to rest, none of the courses that you as first-year students will be requiring any physical attendance at the Durham campus in the fall term. Again, just to be clear, that is the case. However, for the winter, we are planning, if everything goes well, and we know we're taking this day by day, that we're planning to be in person in January. But just to clarify, there will be no physical requirement for you to be in a class, although we are emphasizing, as Jamie said and I said earlier, that you act as if, in terms of, although you don't have to physically be there, that you attend to your class at the time that it is actually scheduled, so that you can get into the habit of being organized. And it's better to be there at the same time as the rest of your classmates are as well anyways, okay? So the only other question that I think I saw, Chris, sorry, they all moved on me. How about I push it back to you because it shifted on me and I've lost them. So I think you had one you wanted to do, Chris, so I'll push it back to you.
Yep, I can answer a question. So we did have a question from someone about the Visual Schedule Builder. Just in terms of if they want to take a course completely online with no in-person requirements. Now, Craig had mentioned that the in-person requirement is not a thing that's happening in the fall. You're either looking at a completely online course, which would be a web-based course, it would say online specifically, or you would be taking a remote learning course, which may have an option of having to meet with the class live together. Now, if you're looking to do only online and you don't want to have any of that synchronous stuff, you can actually just make sure that you're registering for courses that have an online option. Now, not all of them do have online options, so just be aware that if you're taking a required course, sometimes you may have to take something that has a remote learning component to it, okay? Okay, so Craig, do you have that question?
I'm just going to answer the one about the appointment with an academic advisor for first-year students. Trust me, we're not trying to avoid you. It is understandable that you would want to come and meet with an academic advisor. So as you can see in this session and in the sessions coming forward, so if you've noted with the dates, none of you will be registering unless you're a transfer student. I know you're out there and you may have been answering some of your questions privately. If you're a transfer student, you still have questions about stuff, you can feel free to contact us. You can go to TrentU.ca/advisor. But first years, what we really want to do is we want to utilize some of the student supports and other connections that you have on campus, whether it be through Aiden or Carrie, to carry you through some of this early stages. Because we're going to be seeing most of you on the 14th or 16th, as Jamie reviewed earlier, in major specific sessions, and we will be present there for you to help assuage any continuing concerns you have. And then you won't be registering until the 27th. And in that period around the 27th or thereafter, if there still are really overriding concerns or there's something you're not comfortable with or you really need to, of course, there will be opportunities for you to connect with us while you move forward. So again, utilize the other resources that will be available. And again, if you're in a real pinch and you feel like you need to, you will be afforded those opportunities as we get closer to the actual opening up of registration for you, which is still not till the end of the month, okay? Because right now, to be fair, what we're doing is we're focusing our attention on continuing students right now because their registration is coming up right now, and you will definitely, we will be there for you. So just wanted to let you guys know. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Craig, for that. We still have a fair number of questions in here that we can definitely answer, and some of them we're answering if they're specific, and we can answer them back to the audience publicly while typing them, and some of them we'll answer live. So as we just review, we'll see what we can do. There was a question about, for the winter term, should we be putting in as Durham for classes instead of remote? Yeah, so if you're trying to register in winter classes, you will notice that instead of them saying web Blackboard, they actually give you a classroom. The intent right now that we are working with is that we are expecting students will be back in class in the winter semester. Now, this comes with a little asterisk because if for some reason we of course, living in this pandemic unknown time, have to revert back to online for the winter semester, we will have to change that. But as of now, we are looking at doing in-person classes. So when you're registering for the winter courses, be aware that you're either registering for something that's online or something that is in person on campus, okay? There's another question about the actual registration process and submitting your courses. So because the registration isn't open yet, we can't demo how to actually take what you've done in the VSB over to the actual registration system. However, one of the videos that Aiden introduced at the beginning in that course registration website actually does go through it by video and show you how to take your course codes, your synonyms from the VSB and bring them over to the actual course registration on July 27th. You'd be able to follow that video and do that. Of course, we're going to have course registration support open during that week, so you'll be able to call if you have any concerns or issues. But I highly recommend you watch that video. It's going to make life a lot easier for you in terms of being able to quickly move your courses over to the registration system and registering. Jamie mentioned that she is going to talk about elective courses, so I'm going to pass it over to Jamie.
Thanks, Chris. So I just want to clarify, if this is a question that comes up frequently, where can I see a list of elective courses? You're not going to just find a list anywhere that says, here are elective courses. An elective course is any course that is not required for your specific program. So if I personally am majoring in psychology and I choose to take sociology courses or English courses or child and youth courses, those are electives to me. Whereas if Craig is registering or he's majoring in English and he chooses to take psychology courses, those become electives to him. So we have that list of first year course descriptions. So any course that is on that list that is not specifically required for your program, that will act as an elective for you. So when picking your electives, we just encourage you to find courses that you're interested in, that you think you'll enjoy and do well in, that will help you explore different areas. And in your first year, there really isn't anything wrong that you could pick when it comes to electives.
Okay, thanks, Jamie, for answering that question. There's a question about teacher education stream. I'm going to pass it over to Carrie since he is in teacher education stream, and he can talk a little bit about the expectations for course selection there. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hi, lovely, lovely, lovely. So there's a couple questions that I'm seeing about teacher education stream. So the first one I'm going to answer is, how would I go about selecting courses for the teacher education stream honors science program? So teacher education stream is actually not a major, it's your stream, right? So technically you would only need to take EDUC 1010, I think it is, and EDUC 1020 at your first year. You can go back to your academic calendar and select all of your regular honors science program courses, everything that would fit under that little designation. But there's only really the one required course for the teacher education stream. I saw, well, like one course at the first year level, that is. Another one that I'm seeing, I'm wanting to work with kids that have disabilities, and I'm in the teacher education stream. What courses should I take? So again, you take the teacher education stream course in itself, but there's lots of courses that sort of deal with equity and disability and social justice in that way. I would recommend maybe a gender and women's studies course, really helped for me, just understanding the layers of oppression and how marginalized people are treated in our society. But there's also child and youth studies or psychology. There's lots of different types of courses that deal with various aspects of that. So it's definitely a little bit of like searching around. But yeah, I believe there's a third question about the teacher education stream as well that I am having trouble finding. But yeah, if I find it, I will hop back on.
Carrie, I think it was the question about how much do textbooks cost?
Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Right. So every textbook of every individual textbook does have a different price. The cheapest that I've ever had to buy was around $12, and the most expensive, maybe $150. Certainly there's range outside of that as well. But again, you're sort of encouraged to shop around. There is the bookstore out of Peterborough, the TDSA, which has some used books as well. There's a buy and sell group on Facebook that also sells textbooks. And also, pro tip, either going in with your friends on a very expensive textbook and sharing it, that kind of way, or using an ebook. Ebooks are always cheaper than the physical books. However, you do have to be cautious because in the bookstore, they're selling you a particular edition of the book. And when your prof opens it up and says, okay, turn to page 5, page 5 might look different depending on your edition. So just be wary of that.
I just had one thing that I wanted to add to that. For particular courses, the option to go with an ebook should be done with some caution. The reason being is because for some courses where the labs require stuff outside of the classroom to be done online through certain online modules, and like weekly tests to be all done virtually. Those ones actually usually require you to have an additional code with that e-textbook, which would be included with the physical copy of the textbook typically. So in my case with biology, you would get a textbook, like physical copy, that would include all of the lab manuals and everything like that. But then if you were to get the electronic copy, it is significantly cheaper, but you were only getting just the textbook itself, and then you have to pay additionally for the lab manual, and then additionally for the access code to all the online stuff as well. So just be careful with that. Some courses don't have that, some courses do, so just be mindful of that.
Okay, thanks Aiden and Carrie for answering those questions. There's only a couple more questions left, and we're just going to go through them. So one of the questions was asked about accessibility. So if someone needs to access accessibility, this is in case you are coming from high school with something that you would refer to as an IEP, or you are looking to be assessed for different accessibility needs. There is an accessibility services seminar that is going to be taking place later in the month. On July 30th, we're actually going to have our accessibility advisors. Jamie is actually one of them, and they're going to talk a little bit more about the process of doing that application and how that operates. I did, in the email that I sent out for this session, hopefully you received it, there is information in there about accessibility services and about doing the, Jamie, I forget what the name of it is, but it's the, do you want to interject? It's the pre-assessment tool that they have to do.
Yes, sorry, I was just typing. So I do recommend that you come to the webinar on July 30th, but other than that, you can go to TrentU.ca/Durham/SAS, that stands for Student Accessibility Services. All the information you need is on there, including the link to the pre-intake questionnaire, which is what Chris was referring to, as well as the documentation requirements. Because a lot of students coming from high school have an IEP, but that in of itself is not sufficient as documentation to get registered. So you can read all about the documentation requirements on there. And if you do have questions, there is an email address on that page where you can get more information from the SAS team.
Great, thanks Jamie. There are a couple more questions, and I think Craig is gonna answer those ones. So go ahead, Craig.
Thanks, Chris. First one, if I take a half credit course in my first semester, is there another section to the course that must be taken in the second semester? Carrie did a great job of sort of addressing this. Sometimes is the answer to the question. If you utilize some of the resources that we've shown you and go to sort of what's required in first year for your major, you will often see that there is a first half of a course, for example, Psych 1020, and then you would take the second half of that intro required course in the winter term starting in January. So that's fairly common. But when you're coming to electives, as Jamie had mentioned earlier, you know, you might take the first half of a sociology and explore it, but think, well, maybe I'll combine that with a political studies in the second term. And that's fine too, right? Again, it's looking at prerequisites to make sure that you're fine. For most first years, they're reasonably interchangeable, but that's not always consistent. So it's about reading what does the prerequisite say, and you can combine different courses to make a whole credit and explore a little bit more. Flexibility would be the key. The other question that I wanted to answer was, how do entrance scholarships work? Do we have to apply for it? Entrance scholarships would be assigned through the admissions office when you are coming in as a new student. So if you qualify based on your high school grades or your entrance grades from college or whatever, that information would be relayed to you. If you have questions about that, you can always email scholarships@TrentU.ca, or you can in fact just email the registrar directly and ask. Or admissions, if you're thinking, well, I think I should have got a scholarship, how come I didn't, or where is it? You can follow up with a number of those supports to find out what is the status of any potential qualification for an entrance. But no, you don't have to apply for it. It's based on your grades. Thanks, Chris.
Great, thanks, Craig. That's great. I'm going to answer one of the last questions that we have here is, where can I get the recording for the stream. So once we process this recording, we are actually going to put it on the summer orientation webpage. So right where all of the seminars are listed, the link will change from click to register to view the recording, and you'll be able to do that. That will take us a few days to process, so give us a little bit of time to do that. But once that's up there, you'll be able to re-review this video as well. Okay, and I think there's one more question, just when do we make an appointment with an academic advisor? And I'll let my academic advisors answer that one quickly, and we'll wrap up our webinar.
Okay, Jamie. So I did sort of address this one earlier. All of the resources that you see here in terms of the website and going through using the schedule builder, understandably, there will be some questions that come from there. And we have an amazing team of resources that can support you with some of those sort of mechanical questions around, you know, accessing the VSB or where do I get the timetable, like Chris alluded to earlier. In an attempt to help students and meet them where they are as learners, there's multiple ways to sort of build a timetable or find resources for what is a prerequisite for a course. I think Jamie and I could tell you there's about 6 different places you can find what are the prerequisites for a course: the calendar, the timetable, the virtual schedule builder. So it's about finding what is your strength. So believe me, the team that you can see here and others are really capable of helping you with some of those mechanical questions. When you get to a stage and you've done that stuff and you want to go to Jamie and I, how does this look? Does this look okay? And you need a final assurance because, you know, your sacred advisor will do that for you. We're happy to do that. We're asking that you wait a little longer and take a shot at trying to build those skill sets yourselves, right? So we are going to be here for you. We won't abandon you. I think everybody here knows that we're fairly busy. And right now our priority is to help continuing students move into their courses in an uncertain climate for them as well. And you won't be registering until the 27th. Come to the sessions. We will be in those sessions to help you with registration. So be patient. And if you need to and you hit a crossroads, we'll certainly be here for you when needed. Okay? Thanks, Chris.
Great, thanks, Craig. And I just want to thank all of the panelists who came in today. Our team has been working really hard on trying to, you know, adapt to our environment that we aren't used to as well. But we've been working really hard to try and make sure that we can still provide a lot of supports and opportunities for students, and that's our goal. If you want to reach out to us at any time, of course, you can find us through our staff directories by email. If you need to email me, you can always reply to any of the emails that I send out regarding summer orientation reminders and things like that. My email again is christophernealon@TrentU.ca. My name is spelled out, I think, at the bottom of your screen. So you should be able to get that. And of course, you can also find all the information that we're presenting on our website. So the easiest thing is TrentU.ca/Durham/orientation. And a lot of the links are embedded within that page, and you should be able to navigate yourself through there. If you do have any questions or other support, feel free to email us at any time. But I really want to thank everybody who attended for coming to this webinar, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do that. And you know, it's really hot outside, so feel free to enjoy, you know, the warm weather while we can. We're almost a little bit too spoiled at this point with it, but and I'm only talking about, of course, us in Ontario. There may be many of you out there who are dealing with different kinds of weather. I did hear in BC that it's quite cold, so we've kind of traded a little bit this time. But yeah, in terms of togetherness in our community, the more that you can interact with us in our communities, the better our community can become. And we really encourage you to do all you can to be participating in what we're trying to offer. And we will do the same thing in terms of trying to reach out to you as best we can. Thank you again for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.